If you've ever had a dream, a goal that stirred your blood, a vision that kept you awake at night, and yet for reasons you couldn't explain, it faded, slipped through your fingers, or simply never came to pass, then I ask you to lean in, because what you lacked was not the dream, nor the desire, nor the work ethic. What you lacked was faith. Now I do not speak of faith in the religious sense, though that too has its power. I speak of something deeper, more personal, more vital. Faith in self, faith in thought, faith in the invisible process by which every dream becomes real. In my years of study, from the steel mills of Carnegie to the invention halls of Edison to the boardrooms of Ford, I discovered a pattern. And that pattern is this: only the man who believes in his dream, while the world laughs, is ever permitted to live it. And so in this lesson, in this conversation between my voice and your mind, I will teach you not only what faith is, but how to build it. Because desire is the spark, but faith is the flame that turns vision into victory. If you're ready, we begin now. Faith is the eternal elixir, the unseen substance that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. It is the difference between a dream and a destiny, between a man who wishes and a man who becomes. Let me say it plainly: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief, true belief, is not automatic. It must be cultivated. It must be shaped through will and repetition and feeling. And the name of this belief, when it burns hot enough to move mountains, is faith. Not blind faith, not borrowed faith, but a kind of inner conviction that reshapes reality. It is a faith that acts even when there is no proof, that moves even when the road ahead is fogged with uncertainty, that speaks even when the voice shakes. Faith is a decision, a stance, a posture of mind that says, I have already received, even if the world has not yet delivered. Now let me warn you, the world will often confuse this with arrogance. They will call you a dreamer, delusional, detached. But the truth is quite the opposite. The man of faith is more rooted in reality than the skeptic, because he understands that reality is first shaped in the mind, and only later in matter. I have seen this law at work across every industry, every generation, every class of man, and it works for all who use it, without exception, because faith is not wishful thinking. It is mental action, a process of planting a seed so deeply in your subconscious that it begins to grow, to shape your choices, to color your vision, to define your very identity. You see, a man may wish to be wealthy, he may desire to be free, he may even work tirelessly toward his goal, but if he does not believe, deep down, that he is worthy of success, if he doubts his vision, if he speaks one thing but feels another, his subconscious will obey the feeling, not the words. And the result? The goal fades, the action stalls, the dream dies, because the mind is not moved by logic, it is moved by emotion, and faith is the emotion of belief. It is the charge, the voltage, the invisible current that gives power to your commands. This is why a weak desire, a half-hearted goal, or a shallow affirmation carries no weight. The subconscious will not move for a whisper, but it will respond to a command spoken with burning, unshakable faith. This is not theory. This is law. The subconscious accepts only that which is impressed upon it with repetition, emotion, and intensity. Faith is what wraps your desire in all three. When you speak your goal aloud, morning and night, when you picture yourself already living the reality, when you feel the gratitude of it, the certainty of it, you are feeding your subconscious a blueprint. And once it accepts the blueprint, it begins to build. Not with hammers and nails, but with decisions, with ideas, with chances you would have once called coincidence. Because the truth is, faith doesn't just change how you think. It changes what you notice, what you attract, what you're drawn to. It makes the invisible path visible. The man of faith walks a road others cannot see. And when he arrives, they say he was lucky, not knowing he arrived on the strength of an idea he never let go of. So I ask you, what are you believing for? And more importantly, do you believe it already exists? Because in this world, you do not get what you want. You get what you believe. And belief is a choice. Let me show you what faith looks like, not in theory, but in the real world, where doubt and resistance live. Because it is one thing to talk about belief, but it is another to witness what belief can do. Every great achievement begins with one thing, A man or woman who believed before the world did, before the results, before the recognition, before there was a single reason to. Let us begin with Edison. He was not the most brilliant man in his field. He did not come from wealth. He had no formal education to boast of. And yet, he gave the world the light bulb. Do you know how many times he failed? 10,000. 10,000 attempts that didn't work. 10,000 nights with no light, no answer, no breakthrough. When I asked him how he endured such failure, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the voice of faith. Because where others saw failure, he saw feedback. He saw progress. He saw the result as already his. He simply had to stay in the experiment long enough for the world to catch up. Now take Henry Ford, a mechanic with no university training, a man obsessed with building a vehicle for the common man, at a time when only the elite could afford a car. His investors called him foolish. His engineers called his ideas impossible. And when he demanded a V8 engine, they said it could not be done. Do you know what he said? Build it anyway. That's not strategy. That's belief so deep it bends reality. And in time, they built it. Because faith, when unwavering, forces the world to move. And what of Andrew Carnegie, the man who gave me my life's mission, and whose belief launched everything you are hearing now? When I sat across from him for the first time, he didn't ask me about qualifications. He didn't care about titles or credentials. He asked me one question. Do you believe this mission is yours to fulfill? I said yes, but truthfully, I wasn't sure. He smiled and said, "Then borrow my belief until yours is strong enough to stand on its own." And so I did. That borrowed faith became my own, and it became the fuel behind Think and Grow Rich, a book that has now reached millions around the world. Not because I was the most brilliant, but because I refused to let go of the idea even when I had no proof it would work. But perhaps you need more. So let me tell you about Fannie Hurst. She was rejected by publishers 36 times before she sold a single short story. She walked door to door in New York City, manuscript in hand, through rain and rejection, believing her words mattered. When I asked her how she endured it, she said, "Because I already saw it. I saw my name in print. I saw the audience, and I knew it would happen, eventually." That is vision married to faith, and in time her stories were read by millions. Now let me ask you something. Have you been counting your rejections or standing in your belief? Have you mistaken delay for denial? The world does not give you permission to succeed. It waits for you to decide that success is already yours, and then to walk in that direction without stopping. Because history does not remember those who waited for proof. It remembers the ones who moved first, with nothing but a vision, a heartbeat, and an unshakable belief. And so I say again, faith is not weakness. Faith is fire. It is the one trait shared by every man I ever studied, from the richest titans of industry to the humblest man who rose through the ranks because he believed he could. They may have called it confidence, or instinct, or trust in their gut, but I knew what it was. Faith. And it is yours to build, if you choose to believe before the evidence appears. Now that you've seen what faith can do in the lives of great men, let me show you how it works. Because faith is not superstition. It is not blind hope. It is a system. It functions within you every single day, whether you know it or not. And if you do not use it intentionally, you will use it accidentally. You will believe in the wrong things, and your results will match those beliefs. Because your mind, your subconscious mind, is always listening. Let us begin with a simple truth. The subconscious mind does not argue. It does not filter. It does not choose. It accepts whatever you feed it, especially if repeated, emotional, and vivid. This is the very reason why belief becomes destiny. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between reality and a well-imagined thought. Say something enough times, with enough feeling, and your subconscious will adopt it as truth. It will then begin shaping your behavior to match that truth. And your environment, your decisions, your relationships, they will shift accordingly. So what does that mean? It means that faith is not a mood. It's not about feeling good all the time. Faith is a deliberate choice to speak, act, and think in alignment with a reality not yet visible. Let me give you the formula again. Engrave it in your mind. Thought leads to belief. Belief leads to action. Action leads to result. You start with a thought. Let's say, I am wealthy. But on its own, a thought is just vapor. You repeat it, you speak it, you imagine it, you feel it. Soon, it becomes a belief. And beliefs are powerful because they change how you act. You walk differently, you speak with conviction, you make choices with boldness. And those choices, they create your results. Now hear me well. If you say, I will succeed, but inside you feel, I'm not good enough, then your subconscious will obey the feeling, not the words. That is why affirmation without emotion is useless. It is the feeling that charges the statement. That is why a single sentence, spoken with faith, can do more than 100 shouted without it. Let's go deeper. The subconscious is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever you plant in it. It does not ask whether the seed is helpful or harmful. It simply grows what you give it. If you plant fear, doubt, limitation, you'll harvest exactly that. If you plant faith, power, and purpose, your world will reflect it. And the more emotion you pour into those seeds, the faster they grow. So how do we plant the right ones? By repetition, by visualization, by daily declaration of a clear goal, spoken aloud with emotion. Each time you speak your vision, and see it, and feel it, you are engraving it into your subconscious. It becomes your default setting. It becomes your identity. You no longer try to become successful. You simply act from the belief that you already are. And that is when the world begins to respond. Here's another truth. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you believe. The subconscious does not manifest your wish list. It manifests your blueprint. And that blueprint is formed through faith in motion. This is why you must be careful what you say, even in passing, even as a joke. If you repeatedly say, I'm always broke, or things never work out for me, your subconscious hears that too. And it says, understood, and begins organizing your life to match the message. So guard your words, because your words become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your reality. Now let me ask you, what have you been rehearsing in your mind? Doubt, scarcity, self-sabotage, or vision, belief, and unstoppable faith? Because whether you realize it or not, you are always training your subconscious. You are always planting. The only question is, are you planting intentionally? If you wish to live differently, you must first believe differently. And if you wish to believe differently, you must train it. Daily, deliberately, with feeling. Because what you rehearse, you become. And what you become, the world will reflect, without fail. Now let me give you the tools. Because this isn't about theory anymore. This is about practice. If faith is the fuel, then these are the steps that will light the fire. Every man who ever turned his dream into a reality, he didn't just believe. He trained himself to believe. He practiced belief, like a muscle, like a ritual, like it was the only thing that mattered. And that is what I'm about to teach you. The first thing you must do is get specific. You must define your goal, not a wish, not a vague idea floating around in your head, but a clear, vivid, measurable, emotionally charged outcome. Write it down. What exactly do you want? When will you have it? What will you give in return? And why does it matter to you? Because if your why is weak, you'll quit the first time it gets hard. But if your why is strong, you'll walk through fire for it. This is your chief aim. This is your purpose in motion. And without it, you cannot build lasting faith. Because faith has no direction to move toward. So start there. Write the vision. Make it clear. Not someday. Now, once that is done, you must give your mind a command. And you do that by crafting what I call your statement of belief. It's one paragraph, but it must carry truth, fire, and certainty. It should sound like this. I am now earning $100,000 per month, doing what I love. I provide immense value in return. I feel it, I see it, I believe it. This is real, and it is mine. Simple, present tense. No hesitation, no hoping, only declaring. This is not something to write once and forget. You must speak it, daily, with rhythm, with emotion, morning and night. Why? Because the subconscious mind is most impressionable when you're waking up and when you're falling asleep. This is when the gate is open. This is when your instructions are most likely to be received. So speak them, not like a script, but like a man who already knows it's done. Speak it until your voice shakes less. Speak it until your tone carries certainty. Speak it until your body starts moving in alignment with your words. And don't just speak it, see it. Close your eyes, picture it, See the house, see the bank account, see the freedom, see the version of you who already has it. But don't stop at the image. Feel it. How does it feel to have it? To be it? To live it? Because your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to experience. And imagination, infused with emotion, becomes experience. So let it be real. In your body, in your bones, right now. The mind does not wait for reality. It builds it. Next, you must behave like a believer, because you can't just visualize the outcome. You must move like it's inevitable. Ask yourself, if I already knew this was mine, what would I do today? Would I hesitate? Would I wait for permission? Or would I build the thing? Would I send the message? Would I show up like a man who's already chosen? Let that answer become your action plan, because behavior builds belief. When you move like it's real, your mind catches up. Your identity changes. You become the thing you were hoping for. Now listen to me on this. Your environment matters, because even if your vision is strong, the wrong influences can choke it. You cannot feed your faith on doubt. You cannot water your goal with gossip and noise. So protect your space, limit the voices who don't believe, and amplify the ones who do. Read books that ignite you. Listen to those who speak life into you. Cut out the content that poisons your focus. You're not being rude, you're being responsible. You are a builder now, a creator, and builders need space to construct something solid. And finally, I suggest this. Write down every time in your life that you acted in faith and it worked. Every time you were scared, but did it anyway. Every little win, every small miracle, every breakthrough. Keep that list close, because one day you'll want to quit, and on that day you'll open this list, and you'll remind yourself, if I did it before, I can do it again, and again, and again, until the dream is real. Because faith is not magic, it is repetition. It is obedience to the vision. It is commitment in the dark. And if you follow this path, this daily, deliberate path, I promise you, faith will become your nature, and your nature will create your destiny. Now that you know how to build faith, I must warn you about the traps, because they are real, and they are ruthless. Every man who has ever pursued something worthy has faced these enemies. Not dragons, not disasters, but whispers, little thoughts, small doubts, subtle voices that wear away your conviction. They don't always shout. Most of the time they sound reasonable, and that's what makes them dangerous. Here's the first one. Wait until you're ready. It sounds wise, doesn't it? But let me tell you something. Ready is a lie. No man ever did anything great by waiting to feel prepared. Faith doesn't wait for confidence. Faith moves before the nerves settle, and the man who delays, the man who hesitates, kills his momentum before it's born. The second enemy? Procrastination, the silent killer. It doesn't tell you no, it tells you later. It wraps itself in comfort and productivity. It says, let's just think a little longer. Let's get one more opinion. And while you wait, your window closes. Opportunity doesn't stay parked. It moves on, to the one who was bold enough to act. Enemy number 3, the opinions of others. Oh, how many dreams have died at that altar? You tell someone your vision, and they blink, they scoff, they say, really? You? And if you're not grounded, you shrink. You start to believe what they see, instead of what you saw. But remember, your vision was given to you, not to them. It is your duty to protect it, even when they can't see it yet. And the final pitfall? Looking for proof before you believe. We are taught to say, I'll believe it when I see it. But the law of the mind says, you'll see it when you believe it. Your subconscious is not moved by evidence. It is moved by instruction. So if you wait for life to prove your dream is possible, you will wait forever. It's not the evidence that makes the belief. It's the belief that makes the evidence. So guard your faith. Treat it like a flame in the wind, because these traps will come for you, quietly, subtly, dressed in logic. But you must recognize them, call them what they are, and move anyway. That is the only way forward. Let me say it again, because the mind learns through repetition, and faith, real faith, is not built by hearing once. It is built by hearing often, speaking often, believing often. So I'll say it plain. You are not waiting for faith. You are training it. You are not hoping the dream will happen. You are deciding it already has. You are not asking life for permission. You are giving yourself a command. The man of faith does not walk by what he sees. He walks by what he knows. And he knows that if he repeats the vision long enough, if he aligns his thoughts, his feelings, and his actions, the world cannot help but move, not because he's special, but because he followed the law that governs all success, the law that turns invisible thought into visible reality. And the law is this: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You don't need more luck. You don't need more talent. You need more belief. And belief is a choice. You build it by speaking. You strengthen it by acting. You solidify it by showing up, even when no one claps, even when nothing happens, even when it's quiet. Especially when it's quiet. That's when belief is tested, and that's when belief becomes real. So say it again. Say it until your voice carries certainty. Say it until you believe it, and then keep saying it. Because when you stop rehearsing the truth, the lie returns. Faith must be fed, daily, deliberately, loudly. And when it is, nothing is impossible. So now I leave you with this. You've heard the law, you've seen the proof, you've felt the path, now you must decide. Because faith is not a feeling you wait for. It is a decision you make, a position you take, a belief you act on, before you see a single result. And if you don't yet feel it, then act as if you do. Walk as if the dream is already real. Speak as if it's already yours. Move as if the outcome is guaranteed. Because in a very real way, it is, but only if you claim it. The difference between the man who wins and the one who wishes? Belief, not louder belief, not more eloquent belief, consistent belief. Every day, in thought, in speech, in action. That's what separates the stories you hear about from the one you are living. And if your belief wavers, then borrow mine, use mine, until yours becomes strong enough to carry you through the storm. Because I have walked this path, I have studied the giants, I have spoken with those who shaped the modern world, and they were not born different, they simply believed different. And you can too. So begin today, say the words, feel the vision, move your feet, and do not stop until it becomes real. Because it will, it always does, for the one who believes.